I should not be standing up here today sharing my story with you all. When I was 9 years old, my family lived off food stamps and contemplated moving back to South Korea to move in with my grandparents. According to a 2020 report by Pew Charitable Trusts, 4% of children born into this income bracket end up making six figures in their lifetime. 4%. That's Harvard's acceptance rate. Yet, I was one of the only ones in my hometown friend groups to go to college and graduate. And just 2 years after graduating, at the age of 24, I was earning $200,000. How? I'm the world's luckiest man. Let me share with you my luckiest moments. Growing up in a first-generation low-income household, my parents never talked about money. I remember waking up in the middle of the night to my parents debating as to whether or not we should move back to Korea. I don't know what it was like to call a bed my own. And I remember only having hand-me-downs from my brother. And I remember thinking to myself, how unlucky am I to be born in a situation where I had to think about finances? When I was in high school, I was involved with the wrong crowd, but the cool crowd. I remember we walked into a mall one day and we shoplifted because we wanted the oversized t-shirts and baggy jeans that everyone else had, but we didn't have the money for it. And guess what? We actually got away with it. So the life lesson here, life's like an open buffet. Take what you want, no charge. No, I'm just kidding. That's bad advice. The next time we went, I could tell that something was different. In hindsight, the security guards had been watching us since the moment that we walked in. We walked around, put stuff in a bag, and as soon as we walked out, I see 4 security guards chasing us. They threw us into a back room, and I remember us having to call our parents one by one. I remember when I called my dad, I remember him being so disappointed and felt like everything that he had sacrificed had gone down the drain. It was at this moment where I felt like I was the unluckiest person, where everything that I had done, I felt like I was on the right track, and just because of one action, it led me astray and made me feel so unlucky. But this experience has taught me one thing that I hold true to this day. That there are no shortcuts to success. That you need to take action and build on that for you to be successful. And how lucky was I to learn that at such a young, early age. Once it came to college application time, I applied to 16 colleges, got accepted to 6, BU, Bentley, and Babson College. And I had to make a decision. What would get me in the least amount of student loans? And thankfully, Babson College offered the most generous financial aid package, and I made one of the best decisions of my life and attended Babson College. Go Beavers! Woo! I remember shortly after my college acceptance, I remember my parents scraped together $250. And yes, this included the crazy $50 checked baggage fee. Like, what is that? That is insane to me. To buy a one-way flight from LA to Boston. Once it was time for me to move into college, I remember hugging my parents goodbye and thanking them for their investment into me and made a promise that I would be financially independent from them moving forward. Once I got onto campus, I immediately started to look for a job. I asked my friends, what should I do to look for a job? And they said, work study. And I said, awesome. Let me go ahead and apply to 5 work study jobs. I did. I got interviews at 3. Incredible. But immediately afterwards, I got rejected by 2. And I don't blame them. This beautiful piece of paper was my resume. But thankfully, somehow, some way, I got the opportunity to work at Phonathon, a student alumni call center. And this was the start of my professional career. It was around this time that I began to hear this concept called an internship. Has anyone heard of an internship before? I don't see any hands going. All right, you're all in the same boat with me. It was a craze amongst the Babson community. It's something that this administration does not require you to have, but the community does. I remember sitting on the second floor of Park Manor Central where I had lived my freshman year. A student ran down the hallway saying, "I got an internship." I turned to her and go, "What's that?" And she said, "It's a way for you to work at a company before graduating." I thought, that's cool. "What company?" She said, "Goldman Sachs." And I thought to myself, never heard of it. But at the time, I thought, okay, well, if she could get an internship at Goldman Sachs, so can I, right? But as like many of you know today, it is so much easier said than done. But it was this blinded confidence that led me to apply to over 100 jobs during my sophomore year, and I completed my resume, and I landed my first internship at a local strategy consulting firm, earning the most money I'd ever seen in my life. $20 per hour. Can you believe it? Oh my God. And so to make this internship fit in my spring semester, I had to work 3 days a week. I would wake up at 6 a.m., commute an hour and a half into Boston to get into the office by 8 a.m., work a full 8-hour shift, go back to campus around 7 p.m., and that was Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Tuesday, Thursday, I would stack my classes from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. so that I could have a full load of classes while working part-time. And this was a reality for me for the next 3 years. Over the course of the next 3 years, I applied to over 1,000 jobs, interning at every single one of these companies while also taking a full class load. And at the time, I thought, how unlucky of me that I need to be the one to wake up at 6 a.m. How unlucky of me that I need to miss out on the opportunities for me to stay up with my friends. How unlucky am I that on Friday, when everyone else got to sleep in, because Babson had no classes for those people who don't know, that I felt like I had to go to class. But it was through these experiences that had led me to build my resume, but most importantly, helped me get into my first post-graduation job at Google. And I wish I could stand up here telling you that this was all part of a beautiful, grandiose plan, but it wasn't. It was a result of me defining my goal of wanting to be financially independent from my parents, applying to as many jobs as I possibly could, and accepting rejection as part of the process. Once I started my job at Google, I had taken on the burden of self-financing my college education. So the number one thing on my mind was, I gotta pay off my student loans. So I thought to myself, well, I could control two variables. One, what I do with my income, and two, what I do with my time at work so I can potentially get early promotions. So I had a meeting with my manager. I said, hey, what can I do to get promoted this cycle? She said, Jerry, I love the ambition, but slow down. Everyone gets the same performance review in the first cycle because you're onboarding. So I thought, okay, well, time to explore. Who has seen The Internship, the movie? Right? Some of you? That was what my first month looked like. I was exploring. I was hanging out. I ate. I went to the gym, and that was my life every single day. It sounds insane, doesn't it? And the best part of it all, I was getting paid to do this. But after about a month, I began to realize, well, dang, that's pretty unlucky of me that I was put into a company where I don't have much control over my future and how that can then impact my income so I could pay down my student debt. So about a month passes. I felt very insecure about myself because I was like, well, everyone's doing something, but I'm not. So I started to ask around. I said, hey, what projects are you working on? Any projects that you're working on that I can help with? After gathering a couple projects, I was on a couple projects, and one project led me to realize that one business metric looked like this. And if you've ever been in business or taken a business class, this either tells you one of two things. One, that the business is crushing it. Or two, in my context, that there is something incredibly wrong and we need to go look into it. I asked my teammates, I was like, hey, this number looks a little odd. What do you think? Should I look into it? Everyone said, yes, Jerry, go look into it. 4 months later of me looking into this, I found one of the biggest product loopholes that my organization has ever seen, It got me recognition by my vice president and also won me an award within my first 6 months of working. As a result, this got me an early promotion despite what the initial expectations were set for my first performance review. Shortly after that experience, I left for another team, and I brought the same principles with me. Proactively identifying the projects, defining them, and driving them independently. And guess what? Another year later, I got promoted again. And at the age of 24, I was earning over $200,000 a year. And I wish I could stand up here telling you that this was all part of a beautiful, grandiose plan, but it wasn't. It was a result of me saying, I want to make sure I pay down my student debt as quickly as possible through early promotions, taking on projects, and driving them forward. Shortly after this, I was at a place where I'd achieved two of my biggest financial goals. One, paying off my student loans, and second, my brother and I came together to help my parents achieve their American dream and bought them a home that they can call their own. Thank you. And as you can tell, I loved the job search process. The more I learned, the more I began to realize how much gap there was between what you needed to know versus what you were taught. And so that's when I started posting content on LinkedIn. I would share my resumes, how I got interviews at top companies, and most importantly, my failures. Because it was those failures that let my audience feel like they related to my stories and made me feel more authentic. And as a result, it made me continue to create content. In about 4 months of creating content and hosting LinkedIn Lives and workshops like this one was taken at our first ever workshop at UC Berkeley, I got a message from someone. Someone asked me, hey Jerry, can you help me on my resume? And I said, sure. But the next question fazed me. They asked, how much? How much? Well, you can charge for this? $20, cover my lunch. And it was at this point that I had realized that the series of unlucky events in my life had led up to this moment, where I had learned that success was not something that came overnight. I had learned about the job search process of looking for 6 internships throughout my college career, and I had learned of how to progress within a company during my time at Google. And this is where my company, OneSolting, got started. 1 client became 2, 2 became 5, and the rest was history. I stand here today telling you that we had grown from, in 2 short years, from having 5,000 followers on social media to over 1.7 million. We had gone from having a team size to close to about 30 people, and we were recently awarded Forbes 30 Under 30. And I wish that I could stand up here telling you this was all part of a beautiful, grandiose plan, but it wasn't. It was a result of me saying, listen, what are the things that interest me? How do I put action behind that? Creating LinkedIn content, hosting LinkedIn Lives, and most importantly, driving those forward. My experience has taught me that we are the architects of our own luck. That success is not something that just falls on our lap because we are waiting for it. As Thomas Jefferson once said, I am a great believer in luck. The harder I work, the more I have. So let's redefine this concept of luck. It's not this mythical force that we're waiting and hoping that it hits us in our careers and our personal lives. No, it's something that we build with action and hard work over time. So I challenge you, as you leave here today, whether you're applying to an internship, whether you're trying to get promoted at work, or whether you're pressing upload for your social media for the first time, take action and let that manifest your own luck. Thank you.